You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast, the #1 resource for growing your function musician business. If you're a solo wedding singer, part of a 12-piece luxury show band, or anything in between, and want to learn from other successful musicians, you're in the right place.
You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 8. My name is Jack. I am your host for this podcast, and I am super excited to have you here. This podcast is all about helping you grow and manage your function musician business. Each week, I sit down with amazing guests to discuss what's worked for them, what hasn't, and the valuable lessons that they've learned along the way. And together, we'll explore how to build a successful business without burning out in the process. So just a few things I want to remind you of before we dive into today's episode. Firstly, I've had a few people get in touch with questions for the short episodes I'm going to be doing in between Season 2 and 3, which is awesome, but I would love to get a few more in. If you missed that, I'll just give you a quick reminder of what I'm talking about. So I've had a few people get in touch with us recently asking specific questions that they'd like help with, and that sparks a bit of an idea for something I'd like to do in between Season 2 and 3, which is I'd love to help a few different people with specific issues and questions that they have. I'm going to be doing short 10-15 minute episodes answering those questions and giving actionable advice on whatever that issue is. I'm going to be doing these temporary episodes with a co-host to help answer these questions, and I'm going to keep that secret for now, but it is a past guest who is a gigging musician. So between us, I think we will be able to give out some really, really good advice. So if you have a specific question or problem that you'd like some help or advice with, please get in touch, and we'll use those for our short episodes. You can do this anonymously, or we can give you a shout out if you want as well. If you'd like to do that, you can email me at the link in the episode description, or message me on Instagram, and that's it. I'd also like to remind you can download my 7 essential marketing strategies for function musicians. This guide will help you figure out where you should be putting your marketing efforts. I've had loads of great feedback from that, so definitely go and download it. It's just full of great stuff, and it also then puts you onto my email list, which weekly I give out loads more tips and advice as well. And then lastly, head over to my Instagram page and you can enter a competition to win a £100 Amazon gift voucher. All you have to do is comment a name and share your favorite episode on a story, and then you get entered into the draw, and we'll be announcing the winner at the end of Season 2. I think that's it. Let's get into today's episode. I really hope you enjoy my conversation with Connor Brown. You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast, and today I'm joined by professional drummer, qualified teacher, and agency owner, Connor Brown. Connor, welcome to the podcast, man.
Hiya, thank you very much.
I think this is going to be a really interesting episode. Not only have you dipped your toes into all sorts of different areas in the function musician world, but you are also only 19 years old, which is... I remember what I was doing at 19 years old, and it wasn't starting businesses and traveling around the world playing gigs. So yeah, congratulations on that already.
Well, thank you very much. It's taken a lot of work to get it all where it is, but it's been really good. It's been a really good year.
Yeah, awesome, man. I'm really excited to hear your story. So let's start there, man. Let's go back and hear about where your kind of journey started.
Oh, well, it's how far back I go, but if you want to go back to sort of secondary school, I was doing music alongside, it was one of my options, alongside PE and graphic design. And at the time I wasn't sure which one of the three I sort of wanted to pursue. But further through secondary school, it was more PE. I was in the athletics county team. So I used to be a javelin sort of guy. I don't know what you call a javelinist. And I was in the basketball team and stuff like that as well. So nice. I was quite into my sport. And for some reason, I looked at the courses in year 10 and then year 11 for college. And the PE ones were quite orientated around football. And that's not really a sport that I'm very interested in personally. So
you and me both, then.
Yeah, so I thought I would go down the music route. not really knowing what to expect either. I went to South Downs College to study music performance and production for a 2-year course, which was really good. I had my own sort of originals band. We made some of our own music, and we did some covers, a lot of like Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath, like proper sort of old-fashioned rock stuff. And we did that in the sort of pubs and clubs in the local area. And then that kind of faded out a little bit towards the end. But I passed that course with a distinction, which I was really happy about.
Yeah.
And then moving on from that, they had a level 4, which is the first year of a uni course, but it's just the first year. And then from that, you can go into the second year of any university course.
Yeah.
From that, and it was free at South Downs. But I was looking around because I knew other colleges also did level 4 courses. And I saw that Fareham College had one, but you had to pay for it. But it involved a teaching qualification.
Right.
And that was something I really wanted to do. I've wanted to teach for quite a long time, and I've done bits of it here and there for my Duke of Edinburgh Award and stuff like that. So I decided to go there for that year, and that was good. That was good. I got my teaching qualification, and I got the level 4 performance and technology qualification. And that's sort of the educational side of it. I didn't go on to go to uni because I thought I could start earlier rather than getting into loads of debt for no reason. And as for the sort of function side of things, it would have been right at the end of the second year of the South Downs course, when I did a lot of sitting in with drummers in the local area, professional drummers. One of them I sat in on a panto gig at Christmas with, and I learned loads from just speaking to him and watching how that kind of works.
How did you start getting those sort of sitting gigs?
Well, one of my lecturers actually, I was looking for drum lessons externally from the college, and my lecturer recommended this particular guy, and I messaged him through his site, and he wasn't offering drum lessons anymore, but he said he'd be happy for me to come and sit in on this pantomime that he was doing. So it kind of came about by accident, really.
Yeah. What does that involve? So is that you kind of just like shadowing and getting a feel of how everything works, or is it, if they get sick or something, you take over or something like that?
At that time, I definitely wasn't at the level that I could have done that. So it was definitely just like a sort of speak to someone with the experience and learn how it kind of works and how it all goes. But that taught me a lot. And then that was in December of 23, it must have been, I think.
So only a couple of years ago.
Yes, it wasn't long ago. Last year was only my only full year of doing function stuff.
Yeah.
So I really haven't been in it that long. But it was it May? Oh no, sorry, that must have been 22. It was 23. It was May that same guy contacted me and said, I've got a gig that I can't do if you want to do it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the same level as what I'd seen him do. It was like an amateur dramatics thing.
Right.
Up in Hazelmere, but I took it, and it was 2 rehearsals and then 3 shows in a week. And so I took that, and I learned all the stuff for that, and it was the first like even semi-professional gig I'd ever done. So I was very nervous.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
But I did that throughout that week, and from that and from the final gig I had done at South Downs College, I recorded me playing, on like a little GoPro that I bought, which was the best thing I could have done, to be honest, is record myself, because I then, a couple of months after that amateur dramatics thing, I started working part-time at Graham Russell Drums. And a couple of the guys there said, do you know what a function band is? And I said, nope, not a clue. And they said, well, you play at weddings and events like that and birthday parties. And I thought, oh, that's quite cool. And they said it's a good earner. And if you've just come out of college and you're trying to make it full time, it's you kind of need to be in a function band, or some sort of paying functional tribute band. So I sort of set out on doing this. But no one really wanted to take me on as their drummer for any upcoming projects, because I was just some guy that's left college.
Yeah.
And I was must have been 18 at the time, or 17, maybe 18, something like that. Because I'm nearly 20 now, so I'm just trying to figure out where it all is.
Yeah.
So I think I was trying for months and months on a group called Depths app. I'm sure you've probably heard of that. Mm-hmm. Everything that came up, I got on that, and everything that came up, I went for it. And I had this one video from college of me doing that, and maybe a little clip from the amateur dramatics gig. That's all I had to sort of show for it. And it wasn't function covers or anything that they would really want to see. But eventually I managed to get one. And it was only about an hour away as well. So it was, I didn't realise at the time, but that was quite good, because a lot of my gigs are 2.5, or even longer than that sometimes. Yeah. I got that, and there's a band called Ocean View, who I've now done a lot of work with. Mm-hmm. And they're actually the band I went to Greece with almost a year later to that day that I did that first Dep gig. It was It was really weird how it kind of happened.
What was that? Was that for a wedding or?
Yes, that was that. Yeah, we got flown out to Greece went to the island of Ios for someone's wedding. It was a British person's wedding. They had all flown out there as well, and that was fantastic. But it was just really weird that it wasn't exactly, but it was almost a year to the day later. I was with the same band.
Yeah, that's real nice, like, vision of the growth, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And it was really weird, because that first gig I did for them went well, and then 2 weeks later they needed a drummer again, but it was in Wolverhampton, so it was a really long way from me. Mm-hmm. But I did it, although it wasn't necessarily worth it monetary in the monetary terms. Yeah. It was 2 weeks later I did that gig, and it went well again, and then the next gig was that Greece gig. So I thought this is always something I've sort of stuck by. Even if something's not worth it for the money at the time, it may be worth it in so many other ways down the line that you can't see yet. So I try to never pass up an opportunity, even if it's financially not viable, although that's a bit more difficult now because I am doing it full time. Mm-hmm.
You kind of got to have that vision of, like, how can this potentially help me in the future with networking and things like that. It's it's wise words.
Because that could have quite easily been someone else that went to Greece. I know that there was 4 other people that I actually knew that had gone for it, and they were all further along in their career and in their drumming ability than I was. But I was the lucky one. So I do see it as, if you put effort, you put that time and effort out there, it does come back to you in some way at some point. Yeah,
interesting. So, what are you up to at the minute then?
So I was working at Graham Russell Drums for quite a while, until about December just gone, and I started working full time there. But I left there. And obviously while I was there, I was doing all the function stuff and holiday parks and tributes and all that sort of stuff. And now I've actually just on Wednesday got the job for new drum lecturer at Fareham College.
Oh, wow.
So that's great. and I've been doing this full time. I set up the business, in January. Well, it sort of launched early January, but I've been working on it since probably July last year, sort of researching and getting a sort of plan together.
Is that the agency you're talking about there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was doing that at the same time. It all kind of happened at the same time. And then, what else am I doing? I'm trying to book up as many gigs this year as I can as well.
Do you have a full-time band now, or are you still just kind of dipping in whenever needed?
I was in a full-time band as well last year, but I'm no longer in that. So it's all dep work for me really at the moment. I've got a couple of collective bands that I'm in the photo shoot and the promo video, so therefore it gets dished out between all of us. But yeah, so it's no full-time band at the moment really.
So with the agency then, what kind of stemmed that idea, and how much work did you have to put in to set it all up?
Oh, right. Well, the way it sort of came about was because I've noticed there's a lot of agencies out there already, and I've worked for a lot of different agencies that have different policies and different ways of working, different payments, and I wanted to be, the one that was a pleasure to work with on both sides, because a lot of the time the customer doesn't see that the musicians behind their booking are only getting 150 or 180 pounds sometimes, and I don't think you can't live on that. If you only got 1 gig a week, you can't live on that. So with my acts, I ask them what they want to charge, and then I put my fee on top.
Okay.
So they aren't being done out of any money for their hard work.
Yeah.
And as always, you want to put on an easy and sort of polished solution for people looking for entertainment, and to provide a good service. And I feel like I can do that. Well, at the time, I felt like I could do this a lot better than the way I've been treated, or I've heard other people's experiences, how they've been treated. I feel like I could do better than that. And that was basically all it was, really. From experience, although short experience, I know how I've been treated, and how little I've been paid on occasions and not been paid. So yeah, I feel like I could do a better job, and therefore I thought, why not? Really,
give it a go.
Moment thing.
So yeah, how much work went into setting it all up? So I've had a look on your website and stuff, which looks great. Did you do that yourself, or did you get a professional in?
Well, so I was looking at quotes for quite a while. I put stuff out on Facebook in the groups, and I looked it up, sort of wedding builders and designers, and I was getting quotes for like £2,000 for some of them, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then I back in July last year, I depped for a band called Pop Gods, who also happened to be the band that I went on the other destination gig with in Copenhagen in December. That was with them, and the guitarist that I met on that day, it's called Callum Richards. He's a great singer and guitarist. He set up his own agency, but for sort of smaller bookings, for bars and club venues and stuff like that. And he told me that he set it up through this business called Techie Business Services. So I contacted the same person, and I got a much more reasonable quote. And then I had it was only a Google document, so it wasn't really well made, but I had a sort of design that I wanted to go by, and certain things I wanted to incorporate.
Yeah.
And they sort of made up a draft and then sort of worked on it from there and posted about getting acts. I'd already messaged all the bands that I had personally played with, whether they wanted to be on there, because I want to sort of help them as well. As soon as they give me the opportunity to play, I wanted to see if I can get them some gigs in return as well. And I've therefore, personally sort of vetted them as well. I know that they're good. And I know what people will get if they book, and I know that will be good quality.
Yeah.
And then I sort of opened it up I was looking for certain acts because I didn't have many solo singers or duos. So I opened it up for more applicants for that sort of thing. And yeah, it kind of grew from there, but it's taken a lot of months to get it up and running. I've now got, I approached some other people to get they did the cards for me. I got one of the big roller banners. I got one of those. I've got some custom merch that I'm
very nice
today. So it's been a lot of texting, I'll be honest. It's a lot of messaging people and networking, but online. And just finding the best sort of solution you can for what you need.
So how are you getting those gigs for those other bands? What's your kind of process for reaching out to venues and things like that?
So depending on what the band are, if they're more of a tribute, then I would like to reach out to parks and theatres. Whereas if they're wedding bands, I want to sort of push them via Google Ads, which I'm running a small campaign on at the moment. And I'll be doing some social campaigns as well, so for getting them out there and getting inquiries in. I've had a few inquiries already. I've got one booking for Callum, the guy that I just spoke about. I've got him booked later on this year. So yes, it's a lot of. It's difficult to explain, but it's a lot of looking like you're not doing much, just sitting there on your phone, but actually you're messaging about 16 different people, getting quotes from all of them, and replying to people. And that's on top of gigs, trying to practice every day, a good couple of hours, and have a social presence, because that's such a big thing nowadays. And I find it really difficult to do that. I've never been a good person with social media, but
you and me both.
Yeah, it's something I'm really trying to get better at the moment.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just essential, isn't it? But I saw that you took on the band Hollywood as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I worked with them recently. Great band. And Stuart, I know he'll be listening as well. He's a lovely guy.
Yeah, yes, me and Stuart have spoken quite a bit recently, actually. He had someone that he was trying to send my way for a booking as well. So... And he's a customer of Graham's as well, so I spoke to him many times.
Nice.
So hello, Stuart, if you're listening out there.
This podcast is sponsored by my business, InFocus Recording Company. At InFocus, we specialize in creating exciting cinematic show reels for professional function musicians. We also offer photo shoots and custom logo design, helping you bring all your branding together into one cohesive package. Whether you're a solo artist or part of a 12-piece luxury show band, having standout promo material and strong branding is essential to growing your business and booking more gigs. If you're interested in checking out some of our work and learning more, head over to infocusrecordingcompany.co.uk. So Google Ads, where did you learn to do that? Did you do that by yourself? Did you take some sort of course, or?
It's quite simple to do, actually. If you just look up Google Ads, it kind of walks you through all the different campaigns you can do, and you can set your own budget. They recommend a budget for what you're trying to achieve, but you can say on there, I want to get people to go on my site. I want traffic to my site. Or if you're selling something, I want to push the products out above other people's products at a better price or something like that. So for me, it was trying to get inquiries and people on the website as much as possible, because I've got all the boxes to submit inquiries on the website already, or email links and stuff like that. So I just wanted people to get on there and see what I've got, and then the rest of it's quite self-explanatory once you're on there. I just need people to get onto it. But it was recommended to me by Ocean View. I spoke to the band leader, Adam, and he's given me a lot of advice with that sort of stuff as well. And yeah, Google Ads seems to work quite well, whereas Hitched, I've heard a lot of people say that they get a lot of inquiries, but they're very sort of not real. They seem very like bot sort of inquiries. And people pay a lot of money to be on Hitched, and there's a lot of people that say they haven't got anything from it. So I didn't want to go down that route.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard good things about Hitched as well. But so would you be on there as an agent then, or as like an individual or a band, or?
I did speak to them and got some quotes and stuff like that from them, and it would have been as an agency, offering the link to my website and offering all the bands, all the packages. But I didn't go for it in the end because I got I put a lot of sort of messages out to people that have used it, and they all said it's not something you want to sort of go near.
So you mentioned that you just got a job teaching at college, right?
Yes, I've got to go through all the paperwork and stuff like that as you do. But
so is that like a full-time job or just part-time, or how's that going to play into everything for you?
It's only 1 day a week. Okay. So I've had some interviews with other schools and colleges as well to build up around that.
Yeah.
I actually had one yesterday at a private school, which went quite well, I thought. So hopefully I'll hear from them and it'll be good. But yeah, so I'm trying to teach at lots of different places as well as take on my own private students, which I have one of at the moment. So I know that unless you're extremely busy, you're in a really busy, top agency band, you're very unlikely to be able to make enough money off of just that. So teaching was, and hence the reason I went to Fareham instead to get that qualification, was so that I could actually have the qualification to teach. And it's something I've always wanted to do. So that I was planning to sort of do that a couple of days during the week, maybe not all 5, maybe 3, 4, and then do my gigs as much as I can get them. And that's mostly Saturdays, as I'm sure everybody knows, but there's some Fridays and a couple of midweeks if you're lucky as well. So it's just juggling it all, really. Yeah.
I mean, it's a real smart move to diversify your income like that. But how do you juggle doing it all? Because it's hard to focus on one thing and put a lot of effort into it when you're juggling so many things, right?
Oh yeah, it's something I've really struggled with. Because you try and, or for me anyway, I try to set out a routine for myself. So I'll try and wake up at 9 o'clock every morning. I'll take my dog for a walk straight away. And that always sort of clears your head and gets you ready for the day, I feel. And then I check emails and all of that sort of stuff. Then I'll jump on the kit for maybe an hour and run through. If I've got to learn songs for that weekend or something like that, I'll do that for about half of it, and then the rest of it, proper sort of practice stuff, all technique, boring stuff that you got to do it.
Yeah.
Then I'll jump off, have some lunch, normally go to the gym. I'll come back and try and do another hour or so on the kit, and then there'll be lots of sort of admin stuff I'll do more in the evenings. So if I look over my website, I try and do it every day and just see if anything's changed, if there's any bugs, or I get people to test stuff for me.
Yeah.
Could you send an inquiry for me just as a test through this page rather than this page, just to make sure it's working? And message people. I put posts out on Facebook saying, if you're looking for a dep for the next 2 months, I've got availability. So you're trying to make posts for that. Trying to cut up bits of footage that I've already got from last year to post to keep it sort of consistent.
Yeah.
I try and post once a week. When I've in the summer last year, I had quite a few gigs, so I try to post at least once a week. But then obviously as over Christmas, it kind of dried up a little bit. I think I had 2 over December. So it wasn't the best. But I was trying to sort of make that content last as long as I can. So yeah, it's I try and sort of follow a routine every day, but it never ends up happening like that.
Yeah.
Whether you're like today, like I'm ill, so it's perhaps I wouldn't go to the gym, or something like that, or if I'm therefore teaching, then that day will be for that rather than for my normal routine, which is what it's been for a little while. So it's difficult to try and keep a routine when there's so many things you're trying to do.
Yeah.
But I try, and the night before, I'll try and write. I've got in my notes high priority, medium, and low priority, and then I've got my daily routine thing. So that will always be walk my dog. I always will walk my dog first, and then I've set out. Monday I go to the gym Monday to Friday normally. So I've got each day, what I do each day. So they're my routine things. And then the other things, high, medium, and low priority. And I'll try and get through as many of the highs as possible so that there's not anything that's sort of urgent. But it is quite difficult to keep on top of all of it. And remembering to reply to people sometimes as well, because you read it and you're like, right, I need to check that. But you're right in the middle of doing one thing.
Yeah.
So you come back to it, and I have to put it on my notes, otherwise I'll forget it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of being on your phone. It's a lot of that. Which is, it's good in some ways because it does work most of the time, but you are glued to your phone quite a bit, and you're not always in the present moment. If that makes sense, you're not always. Sort of, if I'm walking my dog, I may be taking a phone call, or replying to an email, or thinking about how to word an email, or listening to songs that I'm learning for that weekend. So
self-employed life is all-encompassing, isn't it?
It is. It really is. It really is.
But it is worth it, I think, to be your own boss.
Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't swap it.
At all the jobs that I've ever had, I've found that I felt like I was, whether I'm right or wrong, I know it's very subjective, but I felt like I was working really hard, or as hard as I could, as best as I could, for not a lot of gain to myself. I was getting paid all of my jobs, not because as a teenager you're not going to get paid very much. It's a lot of hospitality work, and then you might be able to get into retail, and none of it's very good paying.
Because it was the next sort of pay bump is 21, I believe, is it? When you hit sort of the standard minimum wage kind of thing. Yeah,
so like the most that I ever got was like £10.50 or £11.50 or something like that, which obviously it's okay, but you can't, like, for the amount of work and stress that it caused, and it wasn't worth it. And I thought there's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
Because I would rather work harder for myself and actually get the profit, both in terms of financially and as a person and the experience that I'm gaining from it, rather than saying, I've had a really hard day today, it's been the most stressful day, I'm absolutely shattered, but I made the boss some money and I came home with like 60 quid.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like it was ever worth it for the amount of stress and the amount of times, how ill I would get sometimes from it was just not worth it.
Yeah, you're clearly a very driven guy, so I have no doubt that you're going to do well as self-employed, or you already are doing well. But
well, thank you. It's very difficult. It's very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, just keep doing what you're doing, man. You've got your head screwed on real nicely, I think. So, what's next for this year then? What kind of plans you got to move forward and work on your agency, or is it more playing, or what's your plans?
So this year, I'm just having a little look in my calendar, sort of as we're going through this, just to pick things out. But I'm trying to get some teaching work, as I've said, at some colleges. I've got some. I'm looking to obviously get gigs, because this time last year, well, say November in 2023, looking into 2024, I had no gigs to go into 2024 with at all. It was all depth work that was like 2 to 4 weeks notice.
Yeah.
Or something will come up on Facebook, like, need a drummer this week, can anyone do it? And I managed to get, I think, 35 gigs last year.
Wow.
Just from picking it all up last minute. So it was, it turned out quite well. But this year, I think I've got 20 at the moment and this time last year I had nothing. So
yeah.
and I'm sure I'm going to pick up a lot of last minute stuff and things like that. So it's,
where do you think that's all come from? Is that just from like the networking that you've done on those last minute gigs and
I mean
just
a lot. I mean,
getting
just
out there?
in the calendar, a lot of those are bands that I've already played with. So I've got repeat gigs with them. Some of them are, as I mentioned earlier, like the gigs where it's I was in the video, so it gets dished out between us equally. I've had a couple of gigs from a new tribute band which were really keen to have me. They've already got a full-time drummer, but they really wanted to have a solid depth, so I've got a couple of gigs with them. And yeah, just looking through it. That's it really. It's all gigs from people that I already know, or have spoken to previously. My girlfriend as well is a singer-songwriter, and she's got quite a large following on social media. And she played at Victorious last year, same as me, but we didn't actually know each other then. It was really weird because we were playing almost at the same time, about 100 metres away from each other, and we had no idea who we were. And then a month later, or a couple of weeks later actually, we met at a last-minute dep gig for me at a holiday park, and it was a last-minute pickup shift for her where she worked, and we met like that. It was really weirdly coincidental. But she's got a couple of gigs. I think it's waiting to be confirmed, but the Isle of Wight Festival and Victorious Festival again this year.
Nice. Is that her original stuff, you say?
Yes, she does. She's got a fair few originals, and she buffs her sets up with some crowd pleasing, female led sort of singing cover songs. So there's a lot of that. And we've something that's not music related, but it's quite exciting. We've managed to secure, because of her following, we've managed to secure 2 almost like holidays, but they're like paid holidays, as we're reviewing hotels for this company, and I'm the sort of cameraman, photographer for it. So we're going to Malta and Italy at different
Very nice.
this year. Yeah, so it's we both work really hard. Especially her on her branding and stuff. And as I said, all this work that we're putting out there, it's starting to come back.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, because last year it was a lot of picking up last minute stuff like scraps of things and networking, and then trying to grow on that. And this year I'm sort of, now that I need it because I'm not in full-time work, it's starting to pay me, dividends now, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like it's a real inspiring story. Like at such a young age to be so driven and just working really hard on making things happen for yourself. As I said, at 19, I was absolutely not doing anything like that. I was probably drunk most of it, to be honest. But so let's hear about some of your best gigs and worst gigs. Oh,
okay. Let me have a little look back on the calendar as well, see if I can refresh my memory a little bit. There's obviously my best gigs would have to be Greece with Ocean View. That was just, it was so surreal to be there. I was there, all 3 of us, because it's a 3-piece band, all 3 of us were there, like we're swimming in the sea in Greece, it's like bath water. It's so warm and clear with these amazing views, and we're getting paid for. We were there for how many days? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days to play one evening of music at someone's wedding, and we're getting paid to be out in Greece.
Yeah,
it was just almost unbelievable, really, because it was. But how has this happened?
Yeah,
it's one of those things in life where you're like, this is. I'm not complaining, but this is really weird, and I don't know how it's happened, but I'm gonna, keep it going.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's definitely one of the best ones. Copenhagen, with Pop Gods. I was on percussion for that gig. That was a good one. That was definitely a good one. And that was just gone in December, so it was Christmas time in Copenhagen, which was quite fantastic. What other gigs? There's been loads of gigs that have all been great for their own reasons, but those two I would have to say are some of the best, as well as I did a tribute to Phil Collins and Genesis with Dino in North Wales. It was a very long drive, a very, very long drive, a very long day, because I drove up with the bass player who I know quite well. We drove up there. It was about 4.5 hours, 5 hours up there. And we left at like 9 o'clock in the morning, and we somehow were late getting there for the 5 o'clock arrival time. So it was that long in driving, but I don't know where time went, but we managed to be late still. I was driving that whole time. We loaded into the venue straight away, set up sound check straight away, absolutely shattered. Went and got some lovely food. It was at a Warner hotel, so it was lovely food, and we were looked after well. Played the gig that night, which obviously Phil Collins and Genesis isn't the most easy sort of music to play, so it was quite tiring. Finished about 10 o'clock and then drove back, and we got back literally as the sun was coming up at 6 in the morning. But to be able to play that gig, because Phil Collins and Genesis music has been such an inspiration for me growing up, because of my dad, who sort of got me into that sort of music, because he's a drummer as well. So that's where it all sort of stems from. To play that music was quite special. Although I was reading it, and it was the first ever gig that I was actually reading on stage, and it was very nerve-wracking. It was very nerve-wracking, but it was great. And looking back on it with the videos and stuff, it was brilliant, and I really enjoyed it. So that for the best gigs, that would definitely be up there.
Yeah.
As for the worst gigs, I got a gig that was in Chichester. I won't say the band, but it was in Chichester, and I was working at Wetherspoons at the time, and I'd literally just got to work for my evening shift, and I just picked up this gig. They were just confirming the details that night, and it was a Thursday night at about 7 p.m, and the gig was on Saturday, and I had work all of Friday and most of Saturday as well, and they said it was a pretty typical set, so I was like, okay, that'll be fine then. And they, on my break, I looked at my phone, and they sent me the set list, and it was nothing that I knew at all. It was not the typical set list at all. I managed to just about learn it all by writing all these notes, and just continuously brainwashing myself with these songs.
Yeah.
And I turned up to the gig on Saturday night, and I saw a couple of brass guys get out of their cars, and I was waiting for the rest of the band, the guitarist, the bassist, singer, and they didn't turn up. And so I said, "Where's the rest of the band?" And they said, "Oh no, this is it." I was like, "What?" So it's like, "Where's the bass player? Where's the rest? Where's the band?" And they looked like, "This is a brass band." So we had the tuba, I believe it was, as acting as the bass, and they had the trumpets and the sax and stuff as the melodies, but with no singer. So I was like, "What? I've learnt these songs, that are pop songs or poppy rocky songs, and now I've got to. I don't know either. I could barely get through these songs, and now I've got to do it with no singer, because I use a lot of vocal cues when I play.
Yeah.
And play to a brass band with no bass player." And they were like, "Yeah, you'll be fine though, you'll be fine." And I was like, "Okay, is there anything else I should know before we start?" And they said, "I'm assuming you've been told that we play all of these songs in Latin style." And I was like, "Oh my God, this literally couldn't get any worse." Luckily, during that time I'd been really studying Latin rhythms, and it was just by complete coincidence that I knew how to play samba, songo, Mozambique, all of that sort of stuff. Because if I didn't, I would have been absolutely stuffed. I'd be like, I have no idea what these songs are, how you play the songs, because it's a brass band. I've got no cues to go off of, and we're playing them Latin style. Honestly, that was terrible.
Did you get through it though?
Just about. There was some really shoddy starts because the bass player, well, the tubular player that was acting as the bass would start some of the songs, and I just couldn't distinguish what we were playing. I didn't know where the downbeat was. I didn't know. I couldn't count it. So that this guy was like signaling to me, like playing, and go. I was like trying to say the downbeat, and I was just like, I had to start playing, and then he just sort of locked in with me, and I was like, this is not good at all. Not being surprised, I never got a call back for that gig, but I wasn't really surprised because I wasn't upset about it either. Because if you're not going to give me any of those details, I don't want to work for someone like that. Because
I've had so many of those stories, man. It's wild.
Yeah, and after that, it wasn't a well-paying gig. It was about 150 quid. And it took me about a month to get paid that. And I know there are 30-day contracts, but that wasn't stated to me either.
Yeah.
He said it was like 2 weeks, I think, and I was chasing him up for it. And yeah, it didn't come through on the 2-week deadline. And I just had to keep pestering him until I got it. It was just ridiculous. It was not a good experience at all.
But a learning one?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Never play for that band again.
All right, man. Awesome. So let's move on to the last section of the show, which is the quick fire round.
Yeah.
Some quick questions for you. So what is the most effective thing that you've done to market yourself or your business?
So I'll answer it in two bits because it'll be me and then my agency. So for me, it would be film everything, all of your gigs, the whole thing, because I watch back on it, and as anyone will, watching themselves, they're going to think, oh, most of that was a bit crap. But, there's bits that you think is good, and you pull out of it, and you can post it, and it works really well. It's more promo for yourself. Although it's not professional promo, you can use that to your advantage and making posts and trying to be up to date with socials and stuff like that. So I would say film everything. And a tip that I learned, I can't remember who told it to me, but it was it's one of the best bits of advice ever, is if you're ever writing anything that you want to sound good, write out what you would write and then put it into chat GBT and tell it to make it better for you. And it comes back with the most well-written, informative, piece of writing ever. And I've done that for like most of the messages that I will put out either online for my captions or bios or anything like that, or emails I send to clients will all be, I will write what I write, and it's pretty good what I would write, and then it makes it just like unbelievable. And it makes like when you're applying for gigs, I just bullet pointed all the things that I've done.
Yeah.
And it wrote them out in a different way, and the format was incredible, and it makes it look exactly, yeah. So that would be for
makes
that.
You makes you look so much more professional, right?
For the agency stuff, obviously I'm very new to it, so I don't really have a lot of experience. I'm not really the person to ask about it necessarily, but I would say again, lots of clips and content to put out. Because the more content you can put out, the more personable you are as a band and as an agency, and make it easy for people. Because if it's difficult for someone to find information out, they probably won't bother, and they'll go somewhere where it is easy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, have a button that takes you straight to either your WhatsApp, and they can message you directly, or an email, and they can email you straight away. Something like that, I would say. Make it easy.
Yeah. Nice. So yeah, this question Well, it's a bit of a tough one because what have you learned in the last 3 months that you wish you knew 3 years ago, but you were at school 3 years ago? So, I mean, anything that you've learned in the last 3 months that you kind of wish you knew when you were just starting out?
3 months. I mean, it's a bit ambiguous, but don't trust security in working for someone else, I would say. Always have backup plans. Because whether it's a gig or a job, they can be cancelled. They can suddenly not like you very much. They can get rid of you.
Yeah.
Always have backup plans. And
don't put all your eggs in one basket. Yeah,
I've shrouded myself with all these different possible income ways because I know that one of them or two of them or many of them could possibly fall through.
So what do you think is the biggest mistake you've made so far and what did you learn from it?
Biggest mistake is, that's a really difficult one. There is so many mistakes, but that's how you grow. But I would say make sure that the quality of every performance and everything you put out is the same. Mm-hmm. Because I've posted stuff online or done a gig where I knew the set already, so I didn't go through the songs the day before, and it was a little bit messy on the day because I knew the songs. I did know them, I got them all right, but because I hadn't practiced, playing them, maybe your muscles are slightly out of playing those exact grooves or fills or whatever. So you need to make sure that you're always on top of it and everything is always the best quality that you can put out there. Yeah.
Awesome. If you were just starting out now, what's the first thing you'd do?
To be honest, I don't think I would. If I had the knowledge to start out again now, I probably wouldn't do it much differently, except for I would try and get as many good cover videos, even if it's me at home on my electric kit, of me doing typical songs, Uptown Funk, all that stuff. And I'd just get some covers of me being really nice and tight on those songs. Because I would have got more gigs a lot more quickly if I had videos like that rather than me bashing out Toto live with some college people.
Yeah. Content is king, right?
Yeah.
So do you use any specific tools or apps that help you manage any of your businesses?
Although I wouldn't say it's necessarily an app, although it is an app, but it's not like an app, is Notes, whether it's on your phone or just a notepad and a pen.
Yeah, I'm a big list maker myself.
Yeah, but make sure that you are aware and you know your targets and what you're aiming for, and then what you have to do to get there, and then tick them off as you go. Because I've always struggled with being very demoralised if I don't feel like I've got it straight away. Mm-hmm. It's not because I'm not going to get it. It's just because it takes time, and you've got to tick 5 different boxes before you can get that one thing. Mm-hmm. And so sort of celebrate the small successes, but make sure you're only celebrating them as small successes so that you don't get too big-headed. And, you keep going further and further, because I would always, I'd get 1 out of 5 things done in a day because I had to practice drums, this particular thing, for longer. And I'd be like, well, I've done one thing today, but I've done 1 out of those 5 things. I could probably do 3 or 4 of those tomorrow. So, but you've got 1 done, so that's good. You've done your routine stuff, which is all good, and you've got 1 extra thing done. So you've got to think of them as extra things, I think, and celebrate the small successes, as I said.
Yeah, awesome, man. That pretty much brings us to an end. It's been really fun, man. I really enjoyed hearing your story. As I said, really inspiring. I think, you're inspiring me to work harder, I think.
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm always trying to do that myself as well. There's always more things to do, as I always say. Yeah.
So if people wanted to find out more about you or connect with you, where would you send them?
Probably my Instagram is the best place to go, which is the same as my name on here if they can see it, just Connor Brown Drumming on Instagram. and Facebook is just Connor Brown, I believe. You'll probably guess from the picture that it's drums.
Awesome, man. So yeah, this has been really fun. Thanks so much for coming on and having a chat with me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been great fun.
So there we go. I really hope you enjoyed that episode, and I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Connor for coming on and chatting to me. You can check out what he gets up to on Instagram at Connor Brown Drumming, or check out his entertainment agency at Cecilia_entertainment_ or www.ceciliaentertainment.com. All those links and everything else I mentioned at the start of the episode will be in the episode description. So that's it for this one. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next week for episode 9.